Hello and welcome back to the woods and the bush camp shelter. And it's a glorious sunny day, but in the shadows, or if you're out of the sun, the temperature has dropped to possibly around about 3 to 4 degrees, and I have seen little bit patches of frost, so it could have been a lot colder in here overnight. But in any case, we're here to discuss, and I'm going to introduce you guys to a throwing stick or a rabbit stick. Now there are varying different incarnations of this, but in essence it's one of the earliest weapons and hunting tools man has ever used, and on top of that it's still used to this day. So I'm going to get a cup of coffee on the go. I need a cup of coffee, and we'll discuss this, have a look at it, and we'll start having a bit of target practice with it. So let's get this going, and I'll get the coffee on the go. So while I wait for that fire to die down so I can put my water on, I've got a bag I'm going to fill with some leaf litter and forest understory. Just put it in here, and this will be my target, and I'll set it up against a tree. Quite simply because with everything, if you're going to repeatedly throw a stick and it keeps missing, hits the trees, there's a danger you're going to break your stick. So I know you're in a forest, there's hundreds of sticks, but to find the one that really works for you does take a bit of time and practice. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Let me get my target sorted. One target. Right then guys, this is my throwing stick, and it's one I picked up off the beach actually. I was throwing it on the beach and I thought this actually feels nice and just right. I've painted the orange ends quite simply because in a woodland full of sticks, one stick thrown, yeah, you're probably going to lose it, but I'm giving myself the best chance to retrieve it. But as you can see, it's of a nice curved piece of wood, leveling out to a flattish tapered handle with a very heavy bulbous end. Now you throw it in this manner here, side on, and the rotation and inertia keeps it going around in this fashion till it strikes the target. Now it's really more of a disabling weapon, whereas you throw it, it hits the target, stuns it, takes it down or off its feet till you can get up and dispatch it with a club, or you're just close enough you can get a second go with another throwing stick. They will kill outright if you hit right, but they're more of a disabling kind of instrument for you to get on top of your quarry and finish it. they are still used, and tribes in America have like a community event where they all go out into the bush with sticks, with the kids included. They go out and they hunt jackrabbits. And if you know anything about hunting small game, quite often they'll go to ground, and while they're on the ground, they're hoping that you don't see, the predator doesn't see them and, you know, walks either side of them. But as you walk up on them within 2 or 3 meters, they'll suddenly bolt, and this is where you get your throw in, and hopefully you disable it or take it out outright. Something of this size is a rabbit maximum. There are like Aboriginal ones are a lot bigger, and they're like a paddle, like an aeroplane kind of wing shape, with a small kind of end piece here. And they're quite intricate pieces of engineering in the sense that they have completely flat underbodies with like an aeroplane wing dome on the top, which gives it the lift to keep it going up, and as it spins it generates the momentum and keeps it up, and with the shape of it, it really does move forward. Something like this is for very short range, but the native Aborigines theirs, you know, were good out to sort of like 60, 70, possibly more meters, and taking out kangaroos. I have heard stories of throwing sticks or rabbit sticks taking deers, but that's basically, from what I can gather through research, it would be taking out the legs of the deer. So extremely inefficient way of doing it, but in a survival situation, I suppose that would be, you know, necessary. But hunting with something like this in the UK is a strict no-no. I can't find no anything online saying that you could do it, and I should imagine it would be illegal, and I'll state it is probably illegal to do it. Do your own research, and in a lot of other countries and places like that, it probably would be illegal to hunt in a primitive manner like this as well. But there are still people doing it. I've seen videos of people stateside and in Australia still conducting hunting with throwing sticks, so you've got to assume it's still a viable method of doing it. Well, in ancient Egypt, they have actually found you know, pictures and examples, real life examples, while they've been conducting historical digs, and they found pictures of ancient Egyptians taking out waterfowl. In Europe, they've got examples of exactly the same thing, which they think they were used for waterfowl, but they have found, when they've done the archaeological digs, they found examples. And there's examples pretty much throughout the whole world of sticks, and it seems like it was universally accepted back in primitive times that this was a viable method to take game, a throwing stick. And the Aboriginal ones, like I've stated earlier, are real pieces of engineering. They took it to a whole new level, and yeah, they could take kangaroos out to like 60, 70, 80 meters. And like I said, a boomerang is something totally different though. That's designed so it comes back. A throwing stick has to maintain a straight and forward momentum. If it was to keep veering off, obviously you wouldn't stand a chance of hitting a target. But yeah, it's fantastic fun, and if you're into bushcraft or anything survival, it's something that's worth your while, because at the end of the day, in a real survival situation, you would possibly just be stood there with what you actually have, your clothes you got on your back, and what's in your pockets. And this may be one of the first things you may want to source to try and give you some protection, and on top of that, some food, lunch. It wouldn't offer a lot of protection against a big predator, but it might just be enough to scare one off. But I wouldn't test that theory out. But yeah, if you're a bushcrafter, you might say, well, you know, I've got, you know, catapults to do target practice and things like that with, and that's fair play. I use a catapult, but this is so much fun, and it will take you back you know, 2,000-3,000 years, even more, to when your ancestors on that very piece of ground may have been doing target practice or using it for real to take game with a throwing stick. Hit the tree, totally shattered, so I'm going to have to make a new rabbit stick, but I think you get the idea. And it is fun, and it's something you can do for free. And like I said, this will transport you back millennia, back thousands of years to what your ancestors would have done. And it's good fun, it keeps your eye in, and people can get really good at this. As you can see, I have a lot of misses, but I am able to hit a target at that distance with a degree of regularity which I could improve on. And if I was in a survival situation, that there may be the distance and the actual opportunity that presents itself which may keep me alive. And I'll just pace it out. That's it. 1, 2, 3. So I would say that's near enough, sort of like 8 meters. Not far, but like I said, if you were after small game and they were hunkered down, gone to ground, that would be the kind of distance you'd be throwing at. And if you were throwing at birds a flock taking off, with it rotating, there's a fair chance, or a chance, you would hit one enough to bring it down for you to dispatch it. But like I said, hunting in this method in the UK is not legal, and you shouldn't even consider it. It's simply for fun and targets. But you'd always have to check your local area and indeed your country's laws, you know, regarding doing this sort of thing if you were going to try and hunt with it. But yeah, just target practice in the woods, good fun, and it's good survival practice. Nice warm cup of coffee. It is actually still cold in here. I think it's going to be a pleasant walk out because the sun is really coming through the trees. A couple of hours in the woodland, cup of coffee, chocolate biscuit. I'm ready to crack on with whatever I've got to deal with when I get out of here. But yeah, have a go at making a throwing stick yourself. Take it into the woods, get some practice, and see how good you can get. I know people will say we wouldn't do that in a survival situation, but just think, the difference between survival and bushcraft, there is a crossover point between the two of them. There may be a time where you won't have your EDC bag with you, with your tarp, your knife, your lighting, fire lighting equipment, your waterproofs or anything like that. It's perfectly feasible, and there's been enough stories from survival stories of people who have literally ended up in a situation like a plane go down in Alaska, or they've got themselves lost in their car in a snowstorm and a blizzard, and they've just ended up with just basically what they're wearing and what they got in their pockets. And then it becomes a real survival situation, and then you're reduced to, well, basically throwing sticks to survive. You know, you don't have your 12 gauge shotgun or knife to make bows and cordage. You're right down to the bare basics, and a throwing stick is a good start for you if you really want to get some survival knowledge and know-how, get a little bit of practice in, and yeah, it will take you right the way back to the basics of survival. Well then guys, I've packed up, and you know, it's been good to spend a couple hours down here at the Bushcraft shelter doing some target practice with a throwing stick or rabbit stick. As you can see, it does take a lot of practice. I'm only ever going to be, you know, okay with it, although if you go online there are some real masters at it, and there's a raft of you know, videos which will actually show you how to make and their applications, and people hunting for real, even though we can't here in the UK, it's illegal. So, you know, obviously, yeah, I have to state that again. In your countries, I'm not quite sure on the rules and regulations. You'll have to check that out yourself. But in any case, if you can't hunt, it's still good fun doing target practice with it, and for no other reason than it should be if you're a bushcrafter or a survivalist and you enjoy those two genres, this should actually be one of your fundamental core skills, a throwing stick, for no other reason than it's entertainment when you're here in the woods. But I've got to make my way out of here. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to catch you guys out on the trail.